Welcome back, my friends. In today's video I'm going to show you how to work with iOS 13 and iPadOS, the latest operating systems from Apple for the iPhone and iPad. I will cover how to open, use and customize the control center, how to work with email and calendars, how to send and receive text messages, and how to manage the storage space on your device. Discover ways to sync music and photos, share files and backup and restore your data. Plus, get tips for organizing, privacy, security, and more. Whether this is your first time using iOS devices or if you have been using iPhones and iPads for years, there are plenty of new features to learn that have been introduced into iOS 13 and iPadOS. So let's get started. iOS 13 is capable of running on iPhones dating as far back as the iPhone 6s and iPads as far back as the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 4, which were released in 2015. So even if you had your device for several years, you can take advantage of the latest operating system for your iPhone or iPad, and with few exceptions, you will have to access to almost all the features that appear on modern iOS devices. Now, one important thing to be aware of is that starting with the release of the iPhone X in late 2017, iPhones no longer come with a home button. And new iPads like the iPad Pro also no longer have home buttons. The home button is the button found at the bottom of older iPhones like the iPhone 6s, but on the iPhone X and later, that button was removed, freeing up the space to let the screen extend to the bottom of the device like we see here. Now, the home button had a lot of different uses, but the primary use was for it to take you back to your home screen. So if I tap to open an app like Safari, notice this bar at the bottom of the screen. This is the home indicator on devices that don't have a home button. To get back to your home screen, you just swipe up on it. So that's pretty much the difference between going home on older devices and going home on devices without a home button. Be aware that in some apps, the home indicator will fade away, so it's not to cover the content you are viewing on the screen. But in most cases, you can tap the screen to bring the home indicator back. iPhones and iPads are sold and used in countries all around the world, and iOS is available in many languages. However, depending on the region you are in, you may find that some features aren't available. Some of these features simply haven't been optimized for certain regions or languages, while others may depend on license issues or third-party services that aren't yet available in your region. So for a comprehensive list of iOS features that may or may not be available in your region, you can visit this webpage at apple.com/ios/feature-availability. For the most part, the majority of content in this video is available on all iPhones and iPads capable of running iOS 13. Control Center in iOS is a collection of settings and tools on your device that you can access quickly from a central location. Opening Control Center depends on the device you are using. If you are using iPhone X and later or iPads, swipe down from the upper right hand corner of the screen. On older iPhones, swipe up from the bottom of the screen. Most of the settings here can be accessed elsewhere on your device, so this is the default layout of Control Center. But we will see in a moment that you can customize what appears here. Let's take a look at this current layout. Starting here in the upper left hand corner, we have 4 buttons grouped together. This is where you'll find the buttons to turn airplane mode on and off, and the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth buttons, and the green buttons allows you to turn your cellular connection on and off, which is useful when you want to make sure you are not using your cellular data and want to rely strictly on Wi-Fi. And you can simply tap on these buttons to toggle them on and off. Now, before we look at some of the other controls here, another important thing is that most of these features contain additional hidden controls that you can access by holding your finger on top of the controls for a moment. This is also called a long touch. So for example, if I hold down on any of these 4 buttons, it opens additional toggles and information. So we now see labels under the button letting us know what they are and their current status. And you can see we now have access to the toggles for the AirDrop feature and to turn on the personal hotspot feature if you are using a device with cellular capabilities. And some of these buttons have further long touch options. For example, if I hold down on the Wi-Fi button, it gives me a list of Wi-Fi networks at my location so I can quickly select one without having to dig into my system settings. If you tap anywhere outside these buttons, you go back to the main control center screen. Moving to the right, we have the music control where we have the play pause button with the rewind and fast forward buttons on either side. This controls whatever media is currently playing, whether it's in the music app or the podcast app or the books app and so on. And we can access more controls by pressing and holding down on this area. So we have a slider here at the bottom and the playback controls are a little larger and easier to use. If you have music playing in one of your apps, like the music app, you will see the album or song information up here. Also note this is where the AirPlay audio streaming controls are hidden away. It's this button here in the upper right. This allows you to select any nearby AirPlay devices on your network that you want to play your iPhone's audio through. Now, if you want to send video and audio to an Apple TV, you will leave the music controls and here on the main screen, you will tap the area that says screen mirroring. And from here, you will be able to select the Apple TV or any other AirPlay devices on your network that also support video streaming. Above that area, we have the orientation lock and do not disturb buttons. The orientation lock keeps the display from rotating even if you turn your device sideways. This is the only place on the iPhone to access orientation lock. On older iPads that have a built-in side switch, this might either be the orientation lock button or the mute button. It depends on which action you have assigned to the switch on the side of the iPad. But on the iPad Air 2 or later, you have both a mute button and the orientation lock button here. To the right, we have controls for brightness and volume level. You can just drag your finger up and down to turn the volume or brightness up and down. If you want a little more precision out of these controls, do a long hold on them. So we have a larger version here that lets me be more precise. And notice we have more hidden controls along the bottom here. We have the button for dark mode and night shifts, which is a feature for removing the blue light from your screen, and that's supposed to be better for not interrupting your body's sleep cycle. On the iPad Pro and iPhone 10 or later, this is also where you will find the button to enable or disable the True Tone feature, which changes the white point and brightness on your iPad. Alright, and along the bottom we have some more buttons. Tapping the flashlight button turns on your phone or iPad's flash, but holding down on it lets you adjust the brightness of the light. Timer icon opens up the timer app, but if you hold down on it, you get this quick control to set a timer right away from here without having to jump into the app. Now, pressing down on the calculator button doesn't give you a quick calculator, but if you recently performed a calculation, it will let you copy the result of the last calculation you performed so you can pass it elsewhere. And the camera button opens up the camera, but pressing down on it gives you options to jump directly into certain camera modes. Alright, this is the default set of controls found in Control Center, but you can also customize what appears here. So let's see how you can do that. So as I told you, you can customize the set of controls that appear here in Control Center. To do so, go into Settings, Control Center and tap Customize Controls. At the top here you can see the controls that are currently active, and you can also rearrange their order or even remove them if you don't use them very often. Below you will find more controls, and all you have to do is tap the plus button next to any one of them to add them to Control Center. For example, I might want to add the alarm and maybe the Apple TV remote and a button so I can quickly turn on low power mode. So now if I swipe down from the right to open Control Center again, I see the buttons for those controls have been added. And some of these simply open up an app or enable a feature, while others will have additional options if you press down on them. Now, the other option in Control Center settings is access within apps. If you want to be able to get to Control Center at any time, no matter what you are doing on your device, you will want to keep this switched on. But if you are using an app that involves a lot of sweeping in different directions, you might want to disable Control Center from within apps, as it can get kind of annoying to keep opening it by accident. But as you can see, it's very easy to customize and access the controls that appear in Control Center. Be sure to take some time and add and remove controls in a way that works best for you.